Meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. Grant, did you get a?
I did not, I'm sorry.
Okay.
We'll pretend.
We had been at the elementary school where the flag moved to. The flag has not moved back here. I think we can all envision the flag in our minds. We can envision it's back there. Let's do the upper left-hand picture in the orange and light yellow over there. We'll all focus there for the flag. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jamie, will you read the mission and vision?
Sure. Our mission is to foster academic and social growth for each student in a safe, supportive school environment. Our vision is to be a learning community that inspires our students and staff to think critically, grow intellectually, and live with integrity.
Thank you. Do we have any additions to the agenda? I have a motion for approval of the agenda, please.
I'll move. Second.
All in favor, indicate saying aye.
Aye.
Agenda is approved. Do I have a motion for the approval of minutes from the regular meeting of December 21st, 2022, organizational and budget hearing of January 5th, 2023, and the special meeting of January 12th, 2023?
So moved.
I will second.
Any amendments or changes to those? Okay. All in favor of item, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Item passes. Number 5. Dr. Banks?
Yes, we'd like to invite two special guests up, Lucy and Madeline. Yep, sorry. Yeah. Am I good? All right, so I'm very honored to present Maddie and Lucy as students who have shown true character, bravery, and courage in a way that exemplifies the Wildcat Way and the Girl Scout Law. These students, if you don't know, saved a young child who was struggling to stay afloat while swimming on a trip with the Girl Scouts. To do this, it required all 3 pieces of our school's vision statement. They had to think critically by evaluating and noticing that someone needed help. They had to grow intellectually. They had to not only learn the skills that helped save this child, they had to apply the skills that they learned. And live with integrity, because we can all learn skills, but we don't always choose to use them. And these two chose to do the right thing. Maddie and Lucy, you showed up and you represented our school very well. I am proud to call you Wildcats. Maddie?
Yes.
And Lucy. Let's give a round of applause. Oh, there's cookies in the back too, girls, by the way. The pictures are on.
Okay, now we have a presentation by State Board of Education Representative Katie Hoffman.
Good evening, and thank you for having me this evening. I'm very excited to be here. I was sworn in last Tuesday, the State Board of Education, and I'm ready for quite a challenge we have moving forward. And I just want to give you a little bit about my background so that you know where I'm coming from and who I am as a person. I taught for 37 years in the Cincinnati Public Schools. I'm certified pre-K through 12 music, so I was in many different schools. And in the 1990s, when some superintendents didn't think the fine arts were important for all students, we rallied with the community, arts organizations, and we made sure that we saved that in our contract for all of our students in all of our schools. And I led that charge because I had the help of my Cincinnati Teachers Union with me. for my entire career in Cincinnati Public School, I was a member of the Cincinnati Teachers Union, and I was an officer for over 20 years and led the collective bargaining agreements that we went on during those 20 years. At the center of those collective bargaining agreements was always what was best for children. And so my last 7 years in the district, I was actually asked to come into the superintendent's office to be part of the Race to the Top Teacher Incentive Fund grants. And by that work, I was able to work locally and statewide to build the foundation for the whole child framework. And I'm just absolutely blown away by your mission and vision statement, and your statements down on here, because you are embracing the whole child framework. And if you look at our state strategic plan, every bit of that state strategic plan is based on the whole child framework, which means children need to be healthy in order to learn. They need to feel safe when they come to school. They need to be supported. They need to be challenged with academics when those three things are in place. And they also need to have a rich curriculum that they can grab a hold of and feel it's meaningful for them. So I'm really excited to be able to work with you over the next 4 years to help you in any way to achieve those goals in your district. We do have some challenges coming up, no doubt about it. Last Wednesday, the very first thing that the State Senate did was introduce Senate Bill 1, which was the reintroduction of House Bill 178, which basically decided to destroy the State Board of Education, or limit its powers to almost nothing, and turn it over to a czar of education, so to speak. Well, what they don't understand is in 1953, we, the people of Ohio, voted and said, oh, no, no, no. The State Board of Education needs to be separate and apart from the governor. So it was removed from the governor's office. And then in 1990, Voinovich decided he didn't have enough control about what the State Board was doing. And so he got the legislature to add 8 appointed seats by the governor. And so from that time on, we have this separation between what's right for children and what the governor wants. And it's a big challenge. So we have this fight coming up ahead. My biggest fear, if that passes, is that they won't stop there at the state board. These extremists want to take over the school boards of all the local districts. So we need to be very cognizant of what's coming on, because you make the decisions for your district. You do what is best for your students because you know your community. It would be heinous to have somebody come in and try and dictate to you, because they don't know you, they don't know your children, they don't know your community. And so we need to be very much aware of that. The second attack on us is going to be the universal voucher plan. If you have paid any attention to that, the state of Arizona decided to do that. On August 15th, any parent that had put in an application for a voucher, it wound up being approved. They budgeted $84 million. Now the price tag is $300 million. And here's the crime. Not a single one of those students was already in the public schools. They were already in the nonprofits. So $300 million went out of their budget. Now imagine what that would look like for Finneytown. For every student that lives in your community, you would have to pay them a minimum of $7,500 to go to those schools. That would come out of your budget, and they're not even in your schools now. So figure out what that is. How many students you have not in Finneytown schools, but in non-publics, and that would be the amount of money that would be taken out of your budget. I talked to the board members at Sycamore Community Schools, and they said, it would be absolutely wonderful if we got $7,500 for each and every one of our students here in the district. But that's not where they're going. They're basically going to reward the folks that are in non-public schools. And the fear we have of that is that there's no accountability with any of that. So it's a very serious thing coming about. I will come on a regular basis, inform you of what I know, what's going on, what we're trying to do, and hopefully, with community support, we will fight back against some of these drastic things in education. So thank you very much for having me this evening, and feel free to contact me anytime you want to. I'll get some business cards to Jamie as soon as the state board gets them to me. But thank you very much for having me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So maybe we don't need a OSBA legislative liaison.
I'm in the role, so I do.
Okay. Lori, can you give us the district report?
Yeah, I'd like to start by inviting our team, a representative of our student service team that includes a group that came together in response to the question that was brought to me around ACEs. ACEs stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences, and it's a medical model. And so we had somebody from UC reach out to us, and I had said to you guys, I would talk with our team. Well, this was developed in response to that request, and this gives a glimpse of what is going on within our district. And so with that, I will hand it over to Eric to start us off.
Thanks, Lauren. It's my pleasure to introduce the Student Services team tonight. They're here to talk about the systems of support we have in place for our students' social and emotional well-being. I have to say, while I believe every single staff member in our district cares deeply about our children, no group of people do more on a day-to-day basis to make sure that our kids are taken care of mentally, socially, emotionally, and academically than the people who will be presenting tonight. And so, first we have Brittany Utley, school counselor from Finneytown Elementary. Brittany will share with us the needs our students present and talk about how those needs drive the services that we provide. After Brittany shares, we'll have Emily Stiles, who's our school counselor here at the secondary campus. Emily, if you could come on up and join us.
We're a team. Come on,
I wasn't sure how we were doing that.
Emily's been a school counselor here for 25 years. I've had the pleasure of working closely when I was an assistant principal with Emily, and have learned a lot from her. And so I'm excited to hear what she can share about our system. After Emily, we'll hear from Kathy McNair, the district social worker. And Kathy has been with Finneytown for 21 years as our social worker. And I've also learned a lot from Kathy as we've been on quite a few home visits to support students and take care of students who may need supports beyond the school setting. And that's what she will share with us tonight. And then finally, joining us tonight is Susan Shelton from Mindpeace. She is the executive director there. And she will share with us the partnership that we've built with Mindpeace and how we care for students' mental health. So, please enjoy.
Thanks, Eric.
All right, so as already mentioned, we have a responsibility to nurture the whole child in order to access learning. And so our student needs are quite wide, going all the way from safety up to learning. And so this certainly doesn't include everything that we do, but some of the main areas, like under safety, are looking at basic needs of our students and how they express and ask for things that they need at the basic level, setting their own boundaries, learning how to be safe with technology. We know how much technology is important to kids now. And then once kids are safe, we look at and nurturing belonging and connection, just making and keeping friends, navigating peer conflict and peer pressure. We address needs around emotional and physical development, such as navigating puberty, right, and body changes, and then coping with a wide range of emotional concerns, such as anxiety or depression, loss, divorce, poverty, disabilities, trauma. That list goes on and on. And we also work on nurturing a positive self-esteem. students recognizing their strengths and their skills and their gifts and learning how to set goals in order to exercise them. And then that all leads to learning, of course. We know when we address all those things, then true learning, academic learning can happen. But within learning, we look at academic struggles and students identifying interests within learning. And also, we included, bouncing back from mistakes. We know that in order to learn, in order to grow your brain, you have to make mistakes, you have to fail. And so just teaching kids the importance of that and that it's okay. So those are some of the needs we address day in and day out, which leads and guides our services, which Emily will talk about.
Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about this diagram that I think that you have a copy of, or you will get a copy of. So to support academic and social growth, on the diagram, the items inside the circle, they are structures and instructional practices that all of our students receive. So everything inside the circle, every student receives. And that kind of fits with our belief that connection happens before learning. So everything inside the circle, every student receives. And then as Brittany mentioned, sometimes we have students that needs are they're more, and so we have additional resources and supports that we offer them. And those are some of the things like the small groups, the team meetings, Catalyst referrals, just any support resources we need to offer. Those are all outside of the circle to represent additional needs that some of our students have. And then Kathy is going to talk about partnerships and community agencies.
Hi, thanks for having us. We have a lot of agencies that I refer families to or refer students to, but I was just going to concentrate on a couple of community partnerships that we have, one of which Susan will tell you more information about. But Mindpeace is an organization that helped us when we were looking for a mental health partner. It took us through a process, which was really fabulous, to make sure that we found a community partner that would better meet our needs, which I feel like we've really done. What they've also done, and this is a before and after picture, is that they have developed in the secondary campus a Mindpeace room. So this was an office that the principal kindly gave us. It used to be somebody's office, and it got, in about 3 hours, it got transformed from being just an empty room to being a place that students can come and stay for about 15, 20 minutes and learn some coping skills. So it's not where you just sit and think about things. It's something where it's proactive. So they sign in and they go to 3 different stations where they're learning different coping skills. So the goal is to learn those coping skills so that if something happens again, they might be able to bring up those coping skills and use them. So it wouldn't be something that we would expect a student to come on a regular basis, unless we're trying to work on that with them. So for instance, a student who is working on dealing with anxiety, or it might be part of a behavior plan or part of an IEP, then they would be allowed to come on a more regular basis. So that's something that we're kind of added this year. And then as Emily spoke, the other piece that I'll tell you a little bit about is Catalyst Counseling. They are our new partner for providing mental health services on campus. So we're really fortunate, which I'm sure Susan can attest to, that we have 5 therapists that serve Finneytown. So right now, as of today, they're serving 73 students. So that's 73 students that are getting counseling at school and not having to have a parent take off work, having to take them to the doctor, take maybe half a day or longer out of school. They just come out, they see their therapist, the therapist works with the staff, the therapist works with the family, and then they just go back to class. And then on your sheet, you'll see, well, one benefit of them that I want to make sure I talk about is that one thing we noticed when we needed to make a change is that we have certain percentage of kids that actually have private health insurance through their parents. And our previous organizations had not been able to take care of that. So that's one thing I like about Catalyst. They have many more insurances than we've ever had before. So that variety is really helpful for families. Okay, and then I'll let Susan talk a little bit more detail about our partnership.
Great, thanks so much for being here. It's really an honor to partner with Finneytown School District. Mindpeace is a backbone organization that provides support in the Cincinnati region to schools for school-based mental health partnerships. And so we have 24 school districts, almost 200 schools, and Finneytown is a member of that collaboration. We're a learning, I loved your vision and mission statement, by the way, it's awesome. So we're a learning community as well, and we learn from each other. So this is just for your reference later. This is, how ways that Mindpeace helps Finneytown directly. But what I really wanted to spend time on is, so I see a lot of school districts, a lot of schools constantly throughout the year in partnership with those school districts. In Finneytown, we have a deep partnership, and I just love the way that Finneytown addresses the whole child and the system of care. That diagram is really another way to think about a system of care that has been built around the whole child. And so I actually, this last year, chose Finneytown as a best in class, and so we've had many visits where I will bring other school districts and schools here to Finneytown to showcase the work, not just of your team, but of your whole staff, because it sort of exudes like, your principals and everybody just sort of really lives this whole child culture. And it's happened over a few different years. It just doesn't happen with a snap of a finger. It's because of the commitment of your, administration, your leadership here, and so on. They believe in it, and they just keep making it better every year. So this is your on-site team. So you've got, which I also love, it's a real commitment that the board, that you guys have made financially, to this notion that you have to be well to be ready to learn. There's no way you can academically succeed if you're not ready to learn. So you've got your, which you're meeting, but you've got your social worker, Kathy, you've got 6 school counselors, which is awesome, 4 school psychologists, 2 restorative practices facilitators. Your nurses, to me, are part of the wellness system, and they also are actively referring and noticing when kids aren't doing not just physically well, but emotionally well. And then your Catalyst counseling staff, 5 there as well. So these are co-located people that are every day worried about the wellness and culture of Finneytown. So it's really impressive, the commitment, the growth of the system year over year, the commitment to really evidence-based work. And so I showcase it in the city and the region as a best in class. And I just wanted to make sure that you guys understand that, because I don't take that lightly. I bring people here and everybody's like, sure, Susan, come on, So anyway, next slide. So how are you doing? So first of all, the pandemic has had a huge effect on mental health, but also on reaching kids and identifying them. And you can see over time, the referrals and identification needs, that this pandemic years really took a dip. And so what I really looked for this past year was, are we identifying kids and making sure that we're saying, hey, do you need help? And so that bounce back came very nicely after the pandemic year. So this is a very positive slide. 95 students who your staff is, and they're very sophisticated, they understand mental health needs, they referred. Next slide. And so this is, I like to talk about access to care. Because your partnership with Mindpeace, but also with Catalyst Counseling, is about giving parents and students choice on accessing treatment. In the country, before the pandemic, only about 50% of kids who needed mental health services received them. During the pandemic and after, that number is now worse. But you all, through it all, hit 64% of kids. Your team does not rest, so it's not great that 33% or 30, sorry, my math is wrong, 36% did not get access to care. But we're tracking why, how do we get them into other areas if they didn't get treatment, but it's fantastic that after a pandemic year, you all are much higher than the national norms. So congratulations, good job, and this is all through this, it's like day in, day out work, it's not easy. And we have some extra materials if you need them. So I'm gonna throw it back to you, Lori, but I'm just really proud to partner with you guys, you're doing a great job.
Thank you, and we did wanna, if you guys have questions, we can, I'll try to give them to the right people, and if we don't have the answers, we'll follow up, because I just don't want to put anybody on the spot. I will also make this available. We are hoping that this becomes something that's available to everyone in the community on our webpage, once we fine tune it a little bit. So, but with that, what questions do you have? And
I have one just right off the
Yes.
top. So I see the 36% that was just referred to as a portion of that, people that don't have insurance, or how do kids that families that don't have adequate insurance, how do they, what kind of help are they getting, and how do we
Yeah, so the
dance around that
the
issue?
number one barrier to care, to accessing treatment, and so remember the system the team talked to you about. First of all, every child in your school is receiving prevention and intervention services for mental health and wellness, which is great. A lot of schools don't have that. So that's the first. If people don't access treatment, so first of all, it's a parent's choice. Just because I refer your son or daughter doesn't mean that I agree with, that you are going to agree and so on. But then the other thing is just feeling comfort with mental health treatment. There's still a stigma. The number one barrier is engagement of parents. So that's the reason I can't reach them. They say no, they don't show up for an appointment because everything has to be, of course, with parent consent and participation. So we are constantly working on that as, how do we make parents feel comfortable? How do we work with families to get access to care? So very few of them are because of insurance or they can't afford. And I have the numbers later if you need them. So.
other questions?
Yeah, so you mentioned about, coordination between the therapists and the other staff. And I'm just wondering, presumption of confidentiality maintained, just how does that work out, and how do you, make sure that works smoothly and everybody,
Yeah, the catalyst counselor asks in the intake, the parent, who are we allowed to talk to? So they can say nobody, if they want to say nobody. If they don't want, if they don't want us to know, it's private, if they're private information, they don't have to. Otherwise, they would list the people that are allowed to know. So we would limit that. So perhaps in I'll pick an elementary school. We might want the teacher to be aware, and certainly the school counselor, and maybe the school psychologist is involved with the student. Those would be the people that the parent might give permission to, but that all has to be written out in the intake.
Our practice at Finneytown too is to talk with the parent before a referral is made, and then work with the Catalyst team to help eliminate any barriers with communication. And if for some reason in a very small instance can insurance not be accepted, MindPeace has a great search tool where you can search for local providers that accept insurance, and we can help link the family.
I do remember we made the decision to change. That was a major component. Before it had been offered, but it didn't accept private insurance for the most part,
Yeah.
and that was a barrier. I know our daughter, when she was here, she benefited from the on-site services. It was great for her.
That's good.
Well, our youngest daughter.
Yeah.
Be more specific.
And
Yeah, I was real pleased that we were able to switch to a company that is very proactive in trying to get on the list. Of course, if they hire somebody, then it takes a while to get that person on every insurance, they don't get on every insurance panel.
Right.
But we have a process where we just put their name down, and Catalyst has someone that contacts them, finds out what insurance they have, and then that narrows down which therapist they might be able to see.
Right. So that is never ending. So out of network is random and what percentage they cover from regular experiences.
And expensive.
Yep.
I will say one of the best benefits of working with MindPeace is just their resources and their experience in a way that allows us to not only network with other school districts, but in terms of the process when we went out to pick our mental health partner, they were able to help guide us through that entire process. because it was something, it was a big deal, and it was something we were nervous about when we went right fit, because, and I feel like we've done that. But they continue to show up. They're not in it and leave. They continue to provide professional learning opportunities for our staff and connection. As Susan said, we've had other school districts come visit us, so it's been, I really appreciate what Susan's brought to our district in that partnership, so.
Thank you.
Also, when the decision was being made, one of our board members who was part of it was also a counselor too. So
Yeah,
being on
that's
the board
very
at the time, I was really grateful. We had not only a school member who was, a counselor, but also willing to invest the extra time. And so for me, as another board member, I was like, well, this is, got a lot more confidence, and it's paid off.
Here.
Can I ask, is it even distribution, elementary to high school? What kind of the age ranges of students, grade levels that take advantage?
I can only speak for the elementary. All grade levels utilize. Yeah, the counselors, we meet every week as a team, and we look at our numbers, we look at our needs. We talk to parents, we talk to teachers, and we submit referrals, and we invite Catalyst to those meetings to pop in as needed so that we can collaborate.
Secondary is very similar.
And I think the amount of support that goes into before the referrals, whether it's check-ins, whether it's small group work, there's a lot going on in the schools even prior to that referral, so, which is done by many of the people standing up there, so, and it's greatly appreciated. All right. Well, thank you, T.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And I will share the PowerPoint and send it here another time. Other things in terms of the update that I wanted to share, we had our Pro Action Cafe last Monday. We had students, staff, and families involved. Topics that were hosted included gifted programming, positive storytellers, addressing litter, which I think was hosted by Lucy, motivating staff and students and others, and then communicating with our children, behavioral development, and bias growth. So a lot of great conversations going on. Our next Pro Action Cafe will be held on February 6th, and that will be held at 5:30 to 7:30 at Finneytown Elementary. And we'll be sharing that on social media and community updates, and we'd love to have people join. A quick update on our facility project. On February 2nd, we will be having a owner kickoff meeting with OFCC. We will get to meet our project manager, who has been announced, that is Tom Bannon, and we'll get that work started. We're excited about that. Our long-range facility planning team will be reconvening after that. Eric shared an article from the Wall Street Journal this weekend talking about the impact of school lunch charges on schools across the country. This is definitely not a specific to Finneytown. We are working in collaboration with other districts, as well as with Milford, who provides our food services, around advocacy around that, and seeing if our hope is that this is one way the legislator could show up and support schools. So I'll provide more information to you guys on that through email. I did want to make sure to take a moment. For those of you who do not know, Bev Thal is retiring. Her last day is the end of this month. Technically, she's here through February, but she'll be on vacation. So, but I wanted to share just a little bit about Bev. I invited her. Bev is not somebody who likes to be in the spotlight, so she declined the invitation, but I told her I was going to talk about her. And anyway, Bev has worked for the district for 23 years. She has spent 18 of those years at district office. I asked Bev what her favorite part about her job was. She said it is being thanked for helping somebody. She said, my job is to support others, so hearing thank you means I'm doing something right. Bev will be incredibly missed in our office, and so I appreciate her service and all she has done for our district. Yeah, and so LaTora Gooden is going to be starting this week on Thursday. She will be cross-training with Bev for the next 10 days, and she'll be supporting us, the board, myself, Dave, and the district work that we do. So we're excited to welcome her, and yeah, so that's my update.
Thank you. Okay, now on to public address. Like to come up and, we have one person submitted sees. Anybody else going to be speaking, addressing the board tonight? You're fine.
Where should I stand, or can I just stay here?
If we can hear you, that's all we need.
Okay.
Just let me read the introduction here. I told you this should be coming.
Sure.
The board believes it is in the best interest, its best interest and the best interest of the students of the district to hear comments from members of the public. It has been therefore a long-standing practice of the board to encourage and allow residents to speak at the public meeting. This may be done by completing a bottom portion of this form and giving it to the board president prior to the meeting. Got it right here. Following guidelines ensure that anyone interested in addressing the board may do so, and the board conducts the business of the school district in an effective and efficient manner. Presiding officer will acknowledge those speakers who have notified the board via the superintendent or a public address form. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. Each speaker addressing the board must state their name for public record. Any material or handouts must be presented to treasurer for record. The name of individuals, profanity, abusive language, and speeches that invade individual privacies will not be tolerated or permitted. The board will take no action regarding matters or issues presented through public address in the meeting in which the public address was made. All necessary follow-up will be made verbally or in writing at a later date. There you go.
To the person who's taking the minutes, I have my little speech prepared. I can send it to you, so you don't have to write it all down. Of course. Okay, so my name's Rebecca Carrasco. I also go by Becky. My son is in 2nd grade here at Finneytown Elementary, and he has an IEP, an Individualized Education Plan. There isn't a resource room at the new elementary school for kids in 2nd to 6th grade. That means when my son needs his speech or occupational therapy, he and the therapist don't have a dedicated place to go. They have to find an empty room and work there. It's not always the same room, and he often works in the huddle rooms in the hallway, which have big glass windows. With such large windows, there's no privacy for my son's interventions, and at some point, he's going to feel self-conscious that his classmates walk by and look at him. The idea of using whatever room is available also means that the students and the teachers don't have a place to keep their tools, such as noise-canceling headphones, visual aids, and school supplies that are needed during intervention time. A resource room gives students with an IEP and their teachers a trusted space to focus on their work when the general classroom is not appropriate. As a former teacher myself, I also understand the importance of having a classroom where I usually worked. I was able to decorate the walls, have my materials at hand, and my students knew every day where they would sit and where to find the materials they needed. Since there are empty classrooms on the 1st floor, I request that one of those rooms be used as a resource room for children with individual education plans. One room I observed last fall was being used to store books for the book fair, so it was obvious that it was not being used by a teacher for a class. I'm asking, what do we need to do to get a classroom dedicated as a resource room for our children and their teachers? Thank you.
We're on to board coordination. Let's go this
Alright.
way tonight. Okay.
I can start.
Yep.
So my main sort of board activity in the past month was I finally got around to taking a tour of all of our lesser seen facilities with Mr. Anderson. So we started over at Brent, did a walkthrough of Brent. We did a walkthrough of Whitaker, and I saw the bus lot and the Quonset hut. So a couple months ago, I actually got to come in during school hours and see the rest of the facilities while the students are in the space. And that was valuable, and that's something that I plan on making a habit of probably once a semester. As a teacher, it can be a little bit difficult to find a time that I'm available. But being able to go after school and Mr. Anderson taking an hour and a half of his time to show me around to these spaces was incredibly helpful. So I saw Brent. Brent is, so I went all the way through, just for those of you that are listening, I went all the way through Finneytown K-12. So I've been in all these buildings myself, and they weren't exactly what I remembered. They're in far worse shape. They're probably on their way toward not being used in probably ever in our future. So I was excited to be able to go through and sort of reminisce, but then also to kind of get a sense of what state our facilities are in. So Brent is extremely close to the new elementary school. Being able to actually go in those classrooms and see where it is just looks, it's something that probably won't necessarily be there much longer, but we'll have to make that decision in the future. So just being able to go through and see what rough shape it is, the fact the ceilings are so much lower than what we have at Finneytown Elementary. They're just much older buildings, so that's just something I wanted to bring to the board as a consideration. Whitaker is in very rough shape, so if you have any questions about any of that, you can ask me later. And then the Quonset hut was very cool to see as well. Wanted to give a shout out to our contracted custodial staff, because kind of a funny story. Mr. Anderson shared that a raccoon got in through the ceiling into one of the rooms, and then completely destroyed that room with raccoon feces and all sorts of other things, and our custodial staff had to clean that up. But just one of the considerations that we'd want to keep in mind as we're talking about facilities would be perhaps a nicer place for our bus drivers to spend their time, because as of right now, they hang out in this aluminum-sided, poorly insulated hut that no one sees.
Actually, we moved them after that.
So they just got moved.
They've been relocated.
But I think it's been that way. It was that way for decades. So it sounds like they're in a different space, which is great. They weren't around the raccoon feces, but I did get a kick out of that. So I think that's great that they have been moved. But just something to consider as we're talking about our other facilities, which ones to keep and which ones not to keep. Let's try to think what else I had. For the, as far as other things going on in the township, if you guys have noticed, City Barbecue is being constructed. I know that they put a mural on the wall, typically of whatever school district the restaurant is going to be in. Unless someone else wanted to, I plan to reach out to them. I assume that no one else has yet, but just to talk about what the content of that mural would be, because I assume that there'd be something similar to what went up at Finneytown, or at the Finneytown Kroger. My hope would be that there'd be something similar, either painted by students, or I don't really know how they do it. I don't know if they have their own artists. But I'd love to.
Started the mural, or?
No, of course they're still framing the building.
Yeah.
But I just would want to reach out and say, hey, we'd be willing to work with you. But from what I've seen at other facilities, at other City Barbecue locations, it looks almost like they have some sort of professional graphic design team that they work with, because that's just part of their marketing system. So I thought we could reach out and offer some support. I know you've worked with some students in the past, but I know that was a lot of work and time, so either myself or another board member could kind of work to coordinate that. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the only other question I had for anything else that's board coordination related sort of relates to what you might be talking about. Are you planning on talking about board meeting length at all? I just had some concerns about the past year. Sometimes our meetings have gone pretty long. I think it's great that we have a lot of people here tonight, but you sort of had shared some things about maybe shortening meetings and things like that. So I don't know if that's something that we wanted to discuss tonight. Obviously, it's not on the agenda, so it would have to be either in your board coordination or in mine, I suppose.
Yeah, I can discuss it. I can
Okay.
repeat what I sent in the email.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful if we could have a discussion about that. I don't want it to be too long because that would defeat the purpose of the email itself. But just trying to be respectful of those that are here for our meeting, because sometimes we've gone till 8:30, and hopefully we'll be out of here way before then tonight, especially with all of you lovely people here with us. So thank you all for coming.
Okay, I will be brief. I just wanted to say thanks to everybody who came out for the family game night. It was a good time, nice seeing some new faces, old faces, and thanks to everybody who donated items and their time. So I really didn't have a whole lot going on as far as updates. I attended the PTA meeting for the primary last week, and I will be attending the secondary campus next week, and I will have more updates on that. So I will be brief.
Yep. So the one community group I work with is the Foundation. They're on the 4th Mondays, which means next Monday, and there wasn't a December meeting. So the basic idea around reducing the length of board meetings is two things which drive a meeting: how many things you discuss, and then how long you discuss them. Kind of like a math problem you could work out if you wanted to. And towards the goal of reduction, it's just if you have multiple people on a committee, one person, they'll get together. People did it tonight, coordinated right here before me. It was magic. And have just one of the two members present a report and coordinate it, as well as, going on with board coordination, each of us try to keep it within 5 minutes. I can do much less than 5 minutes because the only thing I'm talking about. Also, on particular items, sometimes in like voicing support, we might go on and say, I really love this item, and here's the 5 minutes why I love this item. It's more important as a board to, discuss maybe if we have an issue with the item, what goes on. So ask board members to consider if they're in favor of something, their vote is showing they're in favor of it. And they might talk more, but that's just my request, is to consider that. And then also on each item, some items, especially if they're newer and driven by the board, and this is our only chance to discuss certain items, those conversations might go longer, but I have asked we try to keep each of those down to 5 minutes is all. So these are targets we're shooting for, trying, and also, a lot of items might be of interest to be added on, but in two aspects: one, how much work we should be doing at a time, and also just the length of meetings. Try to keep meetings at a certain length, not have a bunch of items if possible. Most items the board considers can push out to additional months. So that's kind of the beginning of my thoughts there, and there'll be further communication with the board. The board are all individuals here, so there's not going to be somebody, holding a timer to them and telling them they must stop now, but just trying to work cooperatively with the whole team towards that goal.
I think my PowerPoint last time ruined it, didn't it?
No, I think if we review the video from last month, there were no single individual exceptional contributors. I think we all contributed pretty well. Okay. Lindsay.
Boosters and FAA, I have not met with them yet. Actually, I don't know if I have the contacts for FAA yet and how to reach out to them.
Maggie has yours.
Yeah, I have
I'll give
Maggie.
you
I've already
Maggie's.
talked to Maggie.
Maggie's
I
the-
can get that to you.
Oh, no,
Okay.
Dave Bruder, I can get you as well, sorry.
Okay.
Maggie's with the boosters.
Yeah, I've already talked to Maggie. They had to move their meeting to yesterday, and as a result, I wasn't actually able to attend. So I will catch up with her later. Long Range Facilities has not met. Personnel Committee, we met. We don't really have anything to report yet, but we have things that we're working on. As far as OSBA, they haven't really had their town halls, mainly because of the holidays. So I think they're going to start up again soon. But they do have 5 different things going on coming up that I thought looked interesting. One is they're starting a new forum. It's called OSBA Forum, to tackle critical issues and discuss and provide insights and strategies. It's going to be virtual on January 24th at 11 a.m. They talked about COSSBA and how the deadline to register for the discount is January 28th. It's March 30th through April 2nd in Tampa. We have a presentation that will be there. I haven't talked with anyone else here, but do you want additional support from the board? Do you need someone to go support you?
Jen and I met with Natami. We've got our plan and presentation. We are Sunday morning. We got our time slot for 2 hours. So,
the ride to the airport, I do that all the time for my kids. So
That would be
that's-
great too. We're going down, we'll be there Thursday to Monday because of the flights. We're staying until Monday and we present Sunday, so we were rushed. But yeah, so we're looking forward to it. I mean, in terms of, everyone's welcome. It's just time and travel and all that
Right.
stuff, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll send an email if anyone wants to individually volunteer and wants to go. I can help figure that out for you if you want. Yep, so there's that. Board Member 101 is January 21st. If you didn't get a chance to go last year, it's a great opportunity. I believe it's a Saturday or Sunday, I don't remember now, in Columbus. And then Board Member 201 is actually divided into regions. So our region is February 4th in Mason, Ohio. And then the last thing is they had something listed. It's a virtual event called I'm not going to get this right because I think it's made up. Appreciology. It's the art and science of appreciation, and it's a free virtual event on February 7th. And then the last thing I have is Tony and I have been working hard to review applications, check references, speak to different applicants, and we have made some decisions on Beyond Finneytown. We would like to officially get the board support behind Scott Meyer and Kelly Lynch as co-leaders for our committee. So if we have that alignment, we will move forward and set up our first meeting to discuss what we're looking forward to.
Would there be an opportunity for us to meet?
There's one back there.
Scott is here.
Scott Meyer.
I could say, yeah, it sounds great from what I've.
I also have all the applications. If anyone wants to read through them, I am happy to forward them on as well.
Yeah, I would read through them.
And that's everything I have.
All right, really quickly, we had a shifting of all of the committees that we're on. I will be working with the township as the community group. I've already reached out to Chris Gilbert, the township administrator. Chris and I are going to do coffee, kind of just once a month, just kind of a little 15-minute, half-hour chat. Nothing, obviously, official board decisions or anything like that, because the board would need to know them. But Chris and I have talked a bunch of times prior to the board. So we're just going to continue it that way, maybe get a bit more insight from the meetings, but again, not promising anything. I do know that he's very happy with the Brent situation for Arts Connect. So that was a smooth thing. I would love to take credit for it, but obviously can't because it was done before that. But Lori, thank you very much for working with them on that. And Katie, I have a good relationship with Katie Hoffman. I meet with her regularly. None of it will be board related unless I'm instructed to do. If you want me to ask questions or anything like that, I can, but she would also be willing to speak to anyone. Lori, I can obviously get you her contact information or Dave in case there's anything you need from them. But Katie and I have known each other for many years, so just happy that she's in the position and again, won't do anything for the board without speaking to the board, but I do speak with her regularly. So if we do have questions, let me know and I can get them on to her.
Yeah, I think one thing, Lori mentioned was, the whole child, lunch fees would seem to fit in there. So, if that's something they can push also, that'd be great.
And we also still have Cedric Denson and, our state reps that we can talk to as well, so.
And I do want to just add on a thank you to, on the front lines, Grant, Dave, and Anita worked really closely with the township to figure out that partnership. And then also our staff at Finneytown Elementary and with Meredith to make that quick transition because some of our staff members still had stuff in the building and things like that. So it was a lot in a small amount of time, and I'm glad we were able to show up and partner with the township. But there were a lot of people involved.
I think the goodwill generated from it will benefit us in helping them in their time of need.
Yeah.
So.
I would like to add, I've actually talked to them twice because we're signed up for programming, and they are extremely grateful for the space. I've heard thank you several times just from those two people.
It's good to hear.
Great. Okay. We have a motion for item 10, financial matters, and 10.1, the adoption of the consent calendar.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Hey, Ms. Oliver, can you take us through this, please?
Okay, first time monthly financial report. So in our general fund in the month of December, total revenues were $617,075. fiscal year-to-date revenues, $9,762,143. Expenditures in the month of December, $1,633,197. And fiscal year-to-date expenditures, $9,905,394. The cash balance in the general fund at the end of December was $13,981. I will mention that in the cash balance, I have a line about the fiscal year-to-date expenditures exceeding revenues. This is the first time in a long time that has happened. Typically, we get our revenues sort of front-loaded. We get them at the beginning of the school year and the beginning of the calendar year. And so we get a lot of money, we spend it down, but we stay positive. But it has caught up to us, our expenditures. And so just point that out to you. It's a little bit of a sad thing for me. But anyway, you know, I think our budget is running much closer to our resources at this point in time. So it's something to keep an eye on.
So what would be the reason for that at this time of the year, that it's exceeding?
Well, like I said, this is the month of December, so our real estate money will come in January, and to a large amount. I mean, tremendous amount that's raised. But again, the resources and the uses, they're pretty closely matched right now. We were able to run some surpluses for a number of years, and I don't see as much of that happening in our 5-year forecast looking forward.
So you see that it's more of a long-term trend, more
Yes.
so than just when the funding comes in. It's just work.
Right. Okay. Next item, depository investment balances as of January 31st, 2023. U.S. Bank, $618,227. U.S. Bank Construction Fund, $3,685,154. Star Ohio, $17,708,647. Star Ohio Construction number 2, $3,051,160. And Star Ohio Construction Fund number 1, $1,347,409. Of course, you look at this and you say, well, gee, that's a lot more than you showed on our graph, but this is all funds. And so we have a significant amount of money in funds in addition to what's in the general fund.
Those interest rates keep going up. It's a good
Yeah,
thing for
yeah,
us
I know.
right now.
It's
But
a great thing right now to see that. And speaking of that, item C, interest earned on depository investment accounts. These dates say January 31st. This is really December 31st, so I would like to mention that that is a correction. These are as of December 31st. So general fund interest earnings, $65,931.64. Very nice for 1 month. Construction fund interest income, $16,713.92. And then item D is the monthly bond spending and commitment report, which is the last report, last page in the report section. So looking at the top table, it is divided into 2 sections. We have total available, and you can see that in total we have about $31,540,000 total available to us. That is for both projects, elementary and the secondary. So far, if you look at the bottom right of that top table, you can see that we've expended $23,475,601 so far. That's the majority of what we have to spend. There are still some bills out there that will be coming in, and that's again, phase 1 is almost complete. Table 2 shows our total uncommitted balance at about $7.2 million right now, and so that's what we'll use to kickstart our work on the next phase, the secondary campus. And of course, the state then will be supplying us funds to help pay for most of that building, since we paid all of the first building. Any questions?
For the state funds, when we get them, do we get them all immediately and we get to collect the interest on it? Or do they hold it until we actually start using it?
We can, so.
They want the interest.
Yeah, I don't think that we'll have much opportunity to earn interest on those balances. But we'll find out for sure soon. That's just around the corner. Okay, item E is a recommendation to approve two purchases, both to Markle Corporation for $2,500. These are deductibles on prior year insurance claims, and they were not billing us, and so we weren't able to pay them, but they noticed them a couple years later, and so they got up to us, and so we're happy to pay them.
We made the interest on that, $5,000.
We did. Yes. Any questions on this report?
Mr. Oliveira, may I have a roll call vote, please?
Ms. McMullen?
Yes.
Mr. Ray?
Yeah.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Gast?
Yes.
Ms. Lee?
Yes.
Item passes. Our
I wanted to ask too, Dave, for the 5-year forecast, are the administrators' renewals or contract renewals, that's all been added to the
Right.
5-year forecast,
Yes,
right?
it's included.
Okay.
Yep.
And everything looks pretty solid with those in the
Just,
forecast?
we do have some cash for a number of years. Trend is down, but yes, we're good for 3-4 more years, sure.
So the revenues and expenditures, I just want to highlight that again. I know we already approved that. So it looks like we're at $250,000 less in revenue. Is that that's per month? Than expenditures.
Yeah, are you looking at the?
Yeah, I'm looking at the 9762 and the 9905.
So, there's the first page, the second page. Are you looking at the third page?
I was looking at the first page because it was a summary, but.
So you might want to look at the third page of the report. What that's going to show is comparative data over a 4-year period. I think you can get a feel for the trend of both the revenues and the expenditures by looking at that. And that's something that we can spend some more time on.
Great. Thank you. I will.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I have a motion for the superintendent's recommendations. 11.1, adoption of the consent calendar.
So, okay, I'll second.
Dr. Banks.
All right, mostly HR items here. Item A acknowledges 2 resignations. Item B is a I'm not gonna say that word right now. Rescinding of a contract. Item C is approval of some of the supplementals for the fall and going into some of the spring season with musicals. Item D is approval of payment for our 7th grade team and some ELA department staff to come together to develop some supplemental stuff for our long-term sub that will be taking the place of one of the resignations. Item E is for approval of unpaid health leave. And then item F is our list of our substitute teachers. And then probably a highlight and something very exciting, as always, is our acceptance of donations item. G, it is recommended that the board accept the following donations: 2 trumpets valued at $250 each, for a total of $500 to the Finneytown Local School District Music Program from Carla Earlywine. And then a cash donation of $100,000 to the Finneytown Local School District from Jeffrey and Andrea Emmelt was also accepted. So those were 2 end of the year gifts.
Is there a purpose on that 100,000?
He, through conversations with him, discretion, but for the secondary for 9/12. And so we have a team working on some ideas around that, and then I had followed up, and I'm gonna reach out back to him and share those ideas and see if they align with his intent.
So this was an addition to what was given before for the marketing?
Yes,
Okay.
this is the
A
enrollment.
second.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay.
I assume that we've reached out and gave some sort of thank you, expressing our appreciation, because I think I can speak for the board that we greatly appreciate his
Yes.
continued support for our district.
Yes.
And it was great that he actually was able to come here and you're able to show him around. It's just awesome that he's still
We had a
connected with
meeting
us.
last week with him, so.
That's
the-
fantastic.
The connection's ongoing for sure, and the support.
That's great.
Yep.
And thank you to the early ones as well.
That's wonderful.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, we have a roll call vote.
Mr. Ray,
Yes.
Mr. Reed,
Yes.
Mr. Gast,
Yes.
Ms. Lee,
Yes.
Ms. McMullen.
Yes.
Item passes. Number 12, review of action steps.
I will find out how to reach out to whoever's in charge of the city barbecue planning process and just touch base with them about some sort of mural.
Yeah, even if they do have professionals, maybe they'd be interested in having our students.
That was my thought.
I have 2 follow-ups for Beyond Finneytown, or Beyond Differences Beyond Finneytown. Beyond Differences Finneytown, gosh. I will reach out and set up our first meeting,
Yep.
and then I will also forward the applications to the rest of the board. And then I took on COSSBA, seeing if anyone wants to go.
And it hasn't been stated, but if we can get discussion with legal regarding paid parental leave.
Yes.
Is that been ongoing?
Thank you about the reminder on that.
Yeah, Dave and I had an initial, so we can set up a time for a larger conversation. I can work on that.
Great. Yeah, Jamie and I will both attend that.
Okay. Number 13, announcements. The next regular meeting of the Finneytown Board of Education will take place on Tuesday, February 21st, 2023 at 6:30 PM in the Media Center of the Finneytown Secondary Campus, 8916 Fontainebleau Terrace, Cincinnati, Ohio 45231. Open forum will begin at 6 PM.
Can I pause you before we go on to item 15? I almost forgot. January is Board Appreciation Month. And as such, since it was on my notes, but I left it out, we just want to take a moment, and we'll get a picture with everyone before we leave, but to thank each board member for their time, talents, and contributions to the work of the district. A lot goes in behind the scenes, and we appreciate each of your efforts to help our district in moving forward in the most positive way possible. And so I have for you each certificate as well as a card. And so this is Eddie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And then Jamie, for you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lucille.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Lindsay.
Thank you.
And then Tony.
Okay.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you. We feel appreciated.
And then can I ask for a 5-minute recess so I can introduce Scott to everybody?
We can do that during the meeting, I don't think we need, or you mean to like just
To
informally?
meet the board. meeting.
Informally
Yeah.
meet
Okay,
the board,
yeah,
yeah.
sure.
Do we need to vote on a 5-minute recess?
Well, do you want to announce the executive sessions and we can,
Well, then we're in executive session.
good point.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I'll move.
Okay.
I'll second. 5-minute recess. All in favor?
Aye.
Say
Aye.
aye. Okay, we are in a 5-minute recess.
That would mean that
There's
everyone else
cookies too.
can go
For
home.
any and
So,
all,
Joyce
Just
Stover
so you
made
know,
them, so.
the remainder of the meeting is going to be executive session where no voting can happen, and when we come back, we're just going to adjourn. There'll be nothing to see here after this.
Thanks for coming.
Nothing.
I wanted to
And
give you
cookies.
this, Laura. This came to my
Cookies.
address.
Okay.
I wasn't sure